say, I'll say anyway. Today's another day to find you shying away.
Welcome everyone to an episode of the Post-Game Report. We are going to spoil The Last of Us 2. So I'm just letting you know that right away. There's no countdown, there's no... we usually do like a quick review, give it a score, and then we warn you. But I'm joined by Persona, who's been here before, and we're going to talk about the story and the characters. We're going to do something a little different. I have some theories. I'm sure, Persona, you have some theories. And I think there's a really deep meaning to these characters and to the story arc in general.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to get right to it. So remember, folks, if you have not finished The Last of Us 2 on the PlayStation 4, do not listen to this episode. It's going to be spoiled, like the little rascals with the milk. So, you remember that episode?
Go finish the game first, then come back and listen. Definitely come back and listen to the episode.
But sure.
Finish the game first.
All right, so here we go. Persona, I'm going to throw out some theories, and I want you to react to these.
Okay.
Some of them might sound outlandish. My first theory, right off the bat. The most important character in this game is Lev. And I'll tell you why I think that. She is the link that broke the cycle. Not only did she break the cycle for the Scars, she rebelled against the Scars. And I keep saying she, but in the story, they want to kill her own tribe, or whatever you call it. The Scars are very religious. And because she shaved her head and wanted to be this acknowledged as a boy, they hated her for that. Her sister tried to protect her, and so they were out to kill her. Now, she shaved her head. She called herself, I think her name was Lily at first. I could be wrong, but her name in the game is Lev. And because of Lev, who rebelled against an extremely fanatical religion, she was able to meet up with Abby through circumstance. Now, Abby was about to die, and so was her sister. Not Abby's sister, Lev's sister. I wish I wrote down her name. Abby and Lev's sister managed to escape with the help of Lev, who was a distraction. And in turn, they cut Abby off the noose. And so Abby, because someone saves her, just like in the beginning, and we'll get to Joel, she decides that this was her chance to redeem herself. And we'll get to Abby, because the way they developed her character arc was beautiful. But because of Lev, she also didn't kill Dina, and she let Ellie live. I'm like stuttering my words. She let Ellie live. And Ellie killed everyone she loved. So, I feel... Oh, and by the way, I'm leaving the most important part out. Because of Lev, Ellie did not kill Abby at the end. To me, Lev was the one common bond that broke the cycle of violence and allowed both of them, Abby and Ellie, to live at the end. What do you think about that one?
First, the sister's name for Lev is Yara.
Yara, okay. Thank you.
In terms of Lev, I think I really like Lev and Yara, actually. They both were really great characters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for the short time they were around.
I think they did a great job with those characters. And Lev and Abby definitely seemed like a really good pair. They
Hmm.
fit very well because when Abby met Lev, at that point, Abby herself was going through turmoil within herself
Yep.
because she herself did not necessarily agree 100% with
With
what the
Isaac.
WLF was doing. Yeah, she didn't really agree with Isaac, right? She didn't really understand his vision and his mission. So you could see the turmoil starting to build up. Plus, she was really worried about Owen and all those different things. It was a lot really riding on her mindset, and she was definitely having some internal battles with herself. With Lev, the internal battle, and I think this is why they both go so great together. The internal battle with Lev at first was uh him battling within himself that he wants to
Mm.
be a boy, although he is a girl. Although he
Yeah.
is originally a girl.
Wanted to be a
Um,
soldier,
the
and then they wanted
yeah, he wanted
they
to be a
wanted
so
her
well.
to marry an elder, and that's when
Yeah,
he was like, "No, I'm a
mhm.
boy."
Yeah, he wanted to be a soldier. They were going to marry him off to an elder. Like he wasn't feeling none of that. So,
Hmm.
him shaving his head and trying to get up out of there and get into the field and stuff like that. That was his turmoil within the beginning. As it grew, as it gets further with Abby and Lev, and they're doing things together, especially when they get to Scar Island.
Oh man.
To the Sarah, they're called Seraphites.
Yes. Yeah.
WLF calls them scars, but so let's call them Seraphites. When you get to the Seraphites Island and stuff like that, and because Lev runs away because Abby still believes in the Fireflies.
Yep.
So when Lev runs away and he wants to bring his mother, because the mother, from what Yara and what Lev both were saying, the mother is a very devout Seraphite believer. She
Hmm.
believes in the teaching. She's hardcore, and Lev didn't want to accept leaving his mother behind. When they were planning to leave to go to Santa Barbara. So he went back. Then
Yeah.
when you get to the island, you see that Lev killed his mother.
Yeah. Out of self-defense.
Yeah, yeah, out of self-defense, of course. Lev killed his mother. So, you know, you, you have to be seriously conflicted, right?
Hmm.
To like, you want to save your mom, you want to get her away from the Seraphites, you want to go to Santa Barbara, like you believe in that vision, but you don't want to leave your mom behind. But your mom is so rooted into the teachings of the Seraphites that she herself can't accept you,
Yeah, which was
and
crazy, man.
she's trying to kill you.
Which was
So
really
now,
sad.
very very sad. So now you're at this point in the story, but with Abby and Lev, where now they depend on each other. And this is why I enjoyed Abby's story just a tad bit more, because
Hmm.
once he killed his mother, it became a dependency.
Yeah.
Because once his mother died, and then his sister got killed,
Yeah. She
when
sacrificed
shout out to
herself,
this,
basically.
she sacrificed herself, and they showed the way they showed her getting shot up like that. I was like,
Yeah,
damn,
bro.
crazy. But once all of that happened, the dependency between both of them, that bond started. Like that's when it's really started getting like super tight.
Yeah,
And
because they balanced each other out in a way where she was opening Abby's eyes to certain things where during their conversation, specifically when they were going to the Sky Bridge. And then Lev began to curse because of Abby. And he started to open up as a person as well.
yeah,
So they were both
yeah,
teaching each other very important things about life, about being an individual. That was a very big, in my opinion, that was a very big underlying topic with their relationship.
yeah. I agree. When they were going through the high rise, excuse me, sorry, when they were going through the high rise, and when they got out of there, and um she was trying to get the medicine for her sister, for Lev's sister, and just all those things. Like no one, you can tell that Abby's changing because no one's going through all this for somebody that, one, they just met, and two, is technically an enemy to the WLF.
Yes.
And they saved same thing with Yara and Lev, because technically speaking, Abby saved Yara from getting killed.
Yeah.
Right, and Yara's like, yo, look, show her mercy, man. But yo, she's an enemy. Nah, cut her down. She saved me.
Yeah,
and
man.
It's like, yo, look, Abby's story and section is amazing.
And I feel that Abby's, on a side note, I feel like there were more action sequences with Abby. Now,
it felt very. It's funny with Abby's sections. It felt very Last of Us 1, which I liked.
Mm-hmm.
Because you couldn't really like stealth kill clickers. She felt more. It's funny because she felt more like Joel.
Yeah, very brutal and.
Yeah. She's more of a, I'm about to knock these dudes out, whatever. Like she was definitely more of a Joel. It felt more like of a Joel type experience playing as Abby, which I could appreciate. Not saying Ellie wasn't great. Ellie was phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
I loved Ellie in the stealth. Ellie was definitely like a stealthy, assassin type killer. While Abby's definitely, hey, yo, look, I'm running and gunning. I'm Rambo.
And her weapons too. The weapons were different
weapons
too.
Very different. That flaming shotgun, I love.
Oh yeah, that helped me against the Rat King, dude. In the hospital?
Yeah.
That freaking huge
Oh,
motherfucker.
that flamethrower finished. I finished his ass with that flamethrower.
I kept dying because I was trying to switch weapons to the flamethrower, and I would get into a corner, and then I would wind up dying.
Yeah.
But back to Lev, she lost everything. She lost her mother. She lost her sister, and very similar to Abby and Ellie, as a matter of fact. I keep saying she. He was dependent on Abby, like as you stated, and Abby was dependent on her, and that relationship was very well. Ellie used it against Abby at the end. She's like, "You fight me, or I kill Love."
Yeah,
and Abby was in no condition to fight her, and we'll get to the end because I don't want to say it now. But yeah, so what do you think about my theory that she was the most important character in the game? Then, I mean, Lev. Sorry, he.
Yeah, Lev.
By the way, that was the character that everybody was trying to stir up. This whole controversy about transgender and blah, blah, blah. Everyone assumed it was Abby, but it was in reality, it's Lev.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Abby just buff. Like, she's
military.
Yeah. She's a military chick. Like,
exactly.
That's just it. Like, she's still a girl and all that, but she just, she knocking dudes out.
Yeah. Man.
Like, you gotta... if you're gonna be out there on the field, you gotta have some type of muscle.
Yep.
Some type of muscle on you.
Yeah,
you feel me? So,
she was no joke.
She's a military chick. But in terms of Lev being the most important character, I disagree.
Oh, okay.
Now, in that instance, at the end, Lev being there definitely stop Abby from killing
Both
realistically
of them, yeah.
Not killing Ellie, but killing Ellie and killing Dina. Like, he stopped her from doing that. But I think
I think because of him, Ellie didn't kill Abby.
Yeah, I mean, I it's funny because I actually think that Joel is still the most important character here. Because
yeah,
the reason why I say that is because everything gets put in motion because of Joel.
Because of him, yeah.
Everything comes back to Joel.
He's the tie that binds.
What Ellie's doing, what Abby's doing, why everything happened the way it did, why their lives are the way they are,
and why they're still infected.
Yeah, why they're still infected.
Yep.
Why I would even argue that Abby wouldn't have met Lev if it wasn't for Joel. Because who knows where her and her father would still be at St. Mary's.
That's true. That's true.
So I'm willing to argue that even in part 2, Joel is still the most important character, because in the beginning you see him getting killed by Abby. The motive for Ellie wanting to do what she do, they're in the house, they're looking at all his belongings. She's reminiscing like, I got to do this, I got to go out and get revenge, all while she's there. The motive is Joel. Joel's dead. This is my motivation.
So I'd put that Lev is the best, the most important living character, and Joel's the entire. Basically, Joel is, as you stated, the motive for everyone.
Yes.
Because at the end,
most important living, I would put Lev in like top 3. Most important living.
Because in the end, Ellie does envision Joe playing the guitar, and I took it as, and once again, but I took it a certain way, and we'll get to that because I don't want to jump to the end just yet. All right, so yeah, I agree with you. I would say Joel and then Lev. I believe Lev really was. In my theory, I believe he was the one to break the cycle for the Scars and Ellie and Abby. So, I want to talk a little bit about the surrounding characters. That includes Owen, that includes Tommy, Dina. Dina played an important role. That was Ellie's love interest, and also was her conscience, I believe. And at the end, towards the end, after Abby nearly killed them both, because she was pregnant at the time, and they had spoken of having a farm together, getting away from Jackson, and they were living that. But because of what Ellie was dealing with, it wasn't enough. She couldn't get over it. And even though Dina was Ellie's conscience, she couldn't, at that moment, when Ellie decided to go once again and look for Abby, she wasn't enough. She couldn't break the cycle. And so, unfortunately, at the end, Dina was no longer waiting for Abby at the farmhouse they had together. They basically had the perfect house, like the perfect scenario. Now, the way they wrote Dina and the way they implemented her, she's one of the more memorable side characters that I can remember in a long time. What do you think?
First off, I love Dina. She fine. She definitely. Can I curse on here or no?
Oh yeah, of course, man. It's PGR.
Dina fine as fuck.
I know there was a few times she was climbing the ladder. I was like, hey.
Dina got that thickness. You feel me? Dina got that thickness. I was like, ooh, okay. Dina, I think, was definitely the best supporting character there. In the game.
Yeah.
Just because when it comes to Dina was, first off, Dina's ride or die, right? When Ellie was like, "Look, I'm going out to Seattle. I'm going to kill these dudes. I'm getting revenge." Dina's like, "Yo, look, wherever you go, I go. I'm coming with you.
Yeah.
We riding out." I'm like, oh, Dina, we riding out like that? Listen, I'm right there with you.
And she was good. And as far as being, during combat, she was there too. All the side
I was
characters.
literally just about to go into that too. Yeah, she there was a lot of times where, in combat, she was on point. She was on point with killing the enemies. And I'm like, yo, Dina she is and I really enjoyed like their talks. Like when I was roaming around Seattle in the open area, I loved their conversation, their idle conversation when they're like when you're on one of the missions and like, going through areas or whatever the case may be. Their conversation was really good. And she also kept Ellie calm.
Yeah.
Like when Ellie was kind of getting a little too chaotic. I don't know if that's the word I want to use, but we're going to stick with that. Dina was definitely there to kind of calm her down and keep her leveled. But also, when they were riding ahead, when you go past the Seattle open area and the horse explodes.
Yeah,
and
dude.
Dina, like, Dina rolled off the thing. I'm thinking, at that moment, I was thinking, yo, Dina's dead. Oh no. Then when she showed up and shot old boy, I said,
Yeah.
"Oh man!" But then when old boy when Danny, I think his name was Danny, when he was walking into her with the gun, I thought Dina was gonna die right there on the spot. I'm like,
Yeah.
"Yo, don't do this!
Yep.
Don't do this!"
Because the whole game, the way the previews and the trailers, at first you
the trailers
thought
and previews are
that
bait
Dina
and
was
switch. It's a
gonna
bait and
die. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a bait and switch. Like
Yep.
a lot of the trailers are definitely a bait and switch, because when you look at some of the areas, some of the trailers when it's between Joel and Ellie, they did that purposefully so that you wouldn't know that those were flashback missions, because they look
Yeah.
like older in those
Yep.
flashback missions, but they did that on purpose so that people wouldn't know, like, yo, look, these are flashback missions where you're actually going back in time and seeing what happened once they started settling into Jackson, once they got that back from St. Mary's.
Yeah.
So that was, I commend Naughty Dog for that. But in terms of Dina, even when you were in the train station, right? She was just like real ride or die. I really enjoyed them being together through a lot of the missions. I really did enjoy that. And when
Yep.
she went even like the part where she was about to take off her mask and give it to Ellie, I'm like, yo, I'm like, there was too many areas where I thought Dina was about to die.
I know,
And I'm
dude.
like, yo, you guys are stressing me out. I don't want Dina to die, because Dina was just so great. And Dina, you know what Dina reminds me of? Dina reminds me of a hippie dating a corporate woman.
Yeah.
Because Dina's very free-spirited.
Mhm.
She's like carefree. She likes to have fun. She likes to joke around. And you see Ellie's like kind of stiff and kind of
Yeah, she was very insecure
like,
about herself.
Yeah, very insecure. And Dina was just like so like laxed, and it reminded me of that. And and again, that's why I really enjoyed their dynamic, because it fit.
Because even, remember the teaser that they showed during E3 where they were dancing?
Yeah.
She was the one who initiated that whole thing.
Oh yeah.
So she
All
was
that.
she was the very Dina was the confident one, the one that took charge, even though Ellie was the one on the mission. But Dina, as I stated before, she was her conscience, her good side. And when Abby had her by the throat, I was like, oh crap, man! And she's pounding her head on the floor. I was
That's what
like,
I'm
no.
saying. She was doing a number on her, man. Like, even
And
if
she
she
looked-
didn't slit her throat,
She looked like
Dina
she was
looked
she was
hurt
about
'cause
to
she had
do
a-
it too, man.
she had a arrow through her chest. I mean, not
Yeah,
chest, her shoulder too.
yeah.
I'm like, yo, look. Like,
And she was pregnant, that throughout
Yeah.
that whole thing.
yeah.
So there were other side characters. Owen, who was very similar to what Dina was to Abby. She was the love
Yes.
interest, the ex, and he too was wild. Remember, he jumped off the Ferris wheel. She went after him, which he was there in the very beginning when her dad was trying to save the zebra.
Yeah.
And he was also there when, well, you know what? Was that him? I swore that was Owen, but was that Owen who found her father in the hospital and held her?
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
It was him, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So he was with her for a very long time. They had a romantic relationship. They went through training together. So having him with her, even though they had like a very similar relationship to what Joel and Ellie were having, you know, where it was like, you know, they would argue all the time, but he was the one telling her, look, we got to get the hell out of here. You know, I don't believe in this. Let's go. Let's find the Fireflies. So he's the one who instilled that in her head, and towards the end, that's where they wind up going. Or, you know, we assume they found the remaining or the new faction of the Fireflies, Abby and Lev. So seeing him die and the way he died was messed up because it was Ellie who killed him. But then again, he attacked Ellie, and Ellie don't play that shit. So the real sad part was when, and I forgot his girlfriend's name, she was pregnant as well. Mel. And, you know, she attacks Ellie once again. And Ellie just, you know, it's like, yo, you're dead. And he's telling her she's pregnant. And the part that was messed up is when Ellie opens the sweater and sees the belly. And that's what broke her. I believe that's when she realized, holy shit, I took this too damn far. I'm a monster. Because she had Dina with a baby as well. And then the other character, Tommy, Joel's brother, you know, the one thing about Tommy, they show him he's married to Maria. He went out for revenge as well because he was there with Joel when they were running from the Horde. They found Abby. They saved her. Now, some people were pissed off that Naughty Dog made Joel dumb. My thing is...
Wait, Joel what?
That they made him dumb.
Dumb?
Because I saw a lot of people on YouTube, Twitter, saying that Joel, in the first game, in The Last of Us, would have never went into the mansion where Abby's people were. And that Naughty Dog made him soft and dumb, and that was against his character. And I'm like, but, you know, I'm thinking, like, you guys forgot that they were running from a horde, and the horses would have not made it to Jackson. Now, somebody on Twitter was like, but why would Joel walk into that situation? Well, it wasn't Joel. It was freaking Tommy who introduced himself to Abby and then said, that's my brother Joel. If you remember when they were getting on the horses. And then Abby's face was like, holy shit. Like, and they're like, come on, let's go. And then when they got to the mansion and Tommy's talking to Mel, she introduced herself to Tommy. He goes, I'm Tommy, and that's my brother. And then Joe goes, hello, I'm Joel. And then, of course, after that, everybody tensed up, and Joe right away knew something was up. So a lot of people were pissed off at Naughty Dog for writing Joel the way they did. But I think it was Tommy's character that fucked everything up. Granted, it was Joel who did all the things that he did years ago. But Tommy was the one who was a little too trusting, in my opinion. And that's what set things off.
Well, she knew that was Joel when they were in the factory before they got to the mansion, so he would have died anyway because
she knew because
right
Tommy introduced them. Remember right before they got on the horses, he goes, my name is Tommy, that's my brother Joel. Now, they were looking for Tommy in the beginning, but we didn't know that. Because we were like, he's there. Remember in Jackson when Owen was showing Abby the town from afar?
Yep.
And then she got pissed off. She's like, oh, well, you know, let's do this now. Let's go. So at first, of course, you had to play through the game to know that they found Tommy first because of a trade with a scar. And so he revealed, yeah, I traded with a guy named Tommy, and that's how that whole thing got started. So she was looking for Tommy in reality at first. So once Tommy introduced himself, excuse me, and then introduces Joel. So either way, she would have known, all right, if this is Tommy, that must be Joel. You know, either way, she would have known who he was. And then, of course, I'm not 100% sure. I don't know if they talked about going to the mansion after they were introduced.
No,
or before. Because remember, they were like, oh, you know, we're not going to make it at Jackson. The horses aren't going to make it.
Yeah, and that's when she said, I know a place we can go.
Yeah,
and that's why.
and then,
that's how they got there. It wasn't.
And then they knew exactly where it was at too.
They didn't make Joel dumb.
I know. I don't think so either.
You have to look at these people have to look at the situation that they were in. 1, 2, she knew that was Joel before they even got to the mansion. So regardless of if they went to the mansion or not, once they got away from the horde, he was gonna die regardless. It would have been either there in the mansion, or they would have got more WLF out to Jackson and just raided Jackson and killed everybody. So regardless of how you look at it, he was going to die anyway. Now, do you rather him die or you rather all of Jackson die?
Yeah,
regardless
exactly.
Regardless of how it happens, he's dying. Like, he's going to die. Like, straight up. There is no getting around that. He's going to die. Now, when they got to the mansion, right, like, you know something's up because, he's looking around and he's like, I'm Joel, and they're like, he's like,
he's like, you guys act like you never heard of us.
Yeah, so like,
she goes, they have.
And
Bam.
and then she pull out the shotty, and that's how that happens. So it's like these people that feel the way they do, it's because these people can't let go of Joel, right?
Yeah.
Granted, the first game is phenomenal. The first game is great.
Mm-hmm.
I love the first game with all my heart and soul. But at the same time, what was going on in the first game and what happened at the end is how we got here in the second game.
Yeah.
A lot of these people either didn't play the first game, they forgot, or they just choose not to remember or accept that. But that is how we got here.
Or they want it, or they insist on it ending the way they want it to end.
Yeah, but I say that's a you problem, not you as in
exactly.
you.
Yeah,
that's a you problem because in the first game, Joel and Tess were taking on a job because they wanted guns. Let's look at this logically here. They want you to smuggle a kid so that you could get guns that they stole back.
Yeah.
They wanted guns. So you telling me, they putting a whole child's life in your hands for some guns.
Yeah.
Like let's be real here. Right?
And Tommy and Joel were like mercenaries, so.
Yeah, and through the journey, he began to, care for her, love her, like a daughter, blah, 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 all that good stuff. That's fine, right? But what happens at the very end is why we are where we are in this game. This man broke his contract, broke his word. He went against code.
Yeah,
now,
killed innocent people.
If I was a kid, I mean, not a kid, but if I was a father, or if I was looking at a child as like my son or daughter, and they were in this situation, I would do the same thing. Because I'm like, no, I'm not gonna give my life, give her life away like that. Like, she can live for so much more.
Yeah.
So I definitely would have done the same thing. But people have to understand that, actions have consequences.
Yeah.
All actions have consequences, and in this world of Last of Us, people have to understand that everybody is expendable.
Yeah, and that's basically the story, right? The revenge doesn't necessarily benefit anyone because it's the people that love you and you love who pay the biggest price, and we saw that here. Mm-hmm. Now, side note, Abby's father, they showed him saving the zebra. Their relationship in the big, when they did a flashback and she's looking for him, and he was like he was a very good guy. He seemed like a very good guy. Abby seemed like a very, like they didn't show her mom, so I'm assuming her mom was dead. But they looked like they had a tight relationship. He was raising her right. He was, he obviously was dealing with that zebra for a while. And so you even see where, who was the firefly that Joe killed at the end? I forgot her name.
Marlene.
Yes. They even showed that scene where they're like, we found a girl with a bite, and she survived. She's immune. And then they even show where he tells Marlene, look, she's going to die. And Marlene was like, I got to give Joel a courtesy and let him know that Ellie's going to die. So there was a lot of good intentions surrounding that whole situation. Unfortunately, we would see Ellie die, and as players of the game in The Last of Us, Naughty Dog did a great job of making you become attached to Ellie and Joel. So I'm sure a lot of us who played it didn't mind killing all those doctors. And then even in the end, when Marlene was like, don't kill me, Joel was like, you're just going to come back for her. So it wasn't Marlene, it was somebody else who came back. But for him.
Yeah, but, when you think of it in that moment, when you're playing Last of Us 1, they're trying to stop you. So what are you going to do? You're going to kill the doctors.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
We all did it. You had to do it. We all
did
it.
I know.
You literally had to do it.
Yep.
And you couldn't get around that.
I know.
It sucks, but this is what it is what it is.
Well, the fact is Joel wasn't a good person. But he was a product. He was a product of the situation. Kind of like Rick Grimes of The Walking Dead. These are people who have had to kill people for various reasons, but the biggest reason and the one common denominator is survival. So you're surviving against the infected, you're surviving against these cliques, these factions that are coming to rob everything you have, or worse. I mean, we remember the whole situation with Ellie in part 1 where the cannibals wanted to, rape her.
David.
So it's a harsh world, right? It's a post-apocalyptic world. So people who expected something for this particular story, a happy ending and walking into the sunset. No, that's not what this was about.
Oh boy, that was like, I wanted to see Ellie get married and all this and have kids, and I'm like, this ain't the Brady Bunch, sir. This is not no happy-go-lucky life that they're living. Even if there's a small chance of things getting better, they're still in a post-apocalyptic world where the entire world is pretty much infected.
Yeah.
And there's I don't want to say that people have become primitive, but territorial,
Yeah.
Very territorial, very.
Well, the Scar were kind of primitive. They didn't believe in electricity. They didn't believe in weapons. Well, mechanical weapons. They have arrows and pickaxes.
Yep. So
tell me that dude during the escape from the Scar Island, the big dude that comes attacking Lev, that you freaking rip his mouth off.
He had to be on PCP or something, bro. Because I'm like, how are you still fighting, bro? Like,
at one point, I thought Abby was going to rip his mouth off because she did grab it, but he was huge.
Did.
Yeah, dude. I was
my
like,
man
get
had
the hell
half
out of here.
a mouth, bro. I'm like,
Yeah.
Like, why am I fighting this guy 4 times?
That was
this
dope,
guy should
man.
be dead.
That was
It was
crazy.
a good fight, though. It was really cool. Really cool.
So back to Joel. Joel does show up in flashbacks. They do show a very emotional scene where he surprises her for her birthday with a trip to the museum. She was always very infatuated with the stars, being an astronaut. And he found a tape that from a rocket launch, I assume. And then Ellie had the helmet on. They were in the cockpit of a ship, listening to the audio, and you see her at her probably happiest you've ever seen her in both games. And innocent too, right? I mean, she was like, for a second there, you saw her as a little girl, as happy as can be. And they did flashbacks during key moments. One of the biggest moments is right before what looked like she was about to kill Abby. And then Joel flashes in her head, and then she lets her go. He's also the reason why she went back to find Abby. Remember when in the middle of the night she woke up, she started playing the guitar, and then she thought of Joe, and she couldn't let him go. So for people that were like, oh, they killed him off, they disrespected him, that's another thing I saw, that they disrespected gamers by disrespecting Joe and making him go out the way he did. But he was basically in the game for a lot of Ellie's portion of the game.
Not only that, but people forget that Ellie is also a main character. Like, it's not just Joel's story; it's Ellie and Joel. So,
exactly.
Realistically, if the second game was it is all about Ellie. It is all about Ellie. So, but that's a main character. It's not like they're shoehorning this character in. Ellie is also she's not no supporting character. They're both main definitely. Characters. So, how is it disrespect, right? You do see him for a good portion of the game. Mm-hmm. You do the flashback missions. You see her like flashing back to him, and you get a lot of good story about their relationship and how it fell apart and stuff like that. I thought those missions were great.
I like the part where finally she revealed, well, she confronted him about the truth because she already knew it. And she was like, you lied to me, you're never going to see me again. And he straight up said, look, I'll do it again.
Yep.
And she hated him for that. Now, her reasoning was legit, and we'll get to that. But how about the way Naughty Dog, throughout the pre-release, the way they messed with our heads? Because remember the teaser where Ellie's playing the guitar, and then at the very end you see Joel, and then he talks to her, and she goes, I'm going to kill them all. Yeah. Every last one of them. And then you see the next, you see some gameplay, and it opens up with Dina and Ellie dancing. And then you saw the gameplay. And then you see, like, the latest trailer where Joel's talking to her. And then, no, actually before that, where Joel grabs her and says, you're not doing this alone. So that was another, like, misdirection. And then the final trailer where you hear Joel saying, I wish everything went back to the way it was, but it can't. So they did a great job. Number one, well, remember that first teaser trailer was where she's on the guitar. A lot of us thought Joel was dead and that he was a ghost. So that was correct. Like, a lot of us were like, and when I say us, I mean people all over the internet, were assuming Joel was a ghost. And that wound up being true. But then they switched everything around, and they made it seem like at the end of, that Joel was going to be with us for a large portion of the game. And then, unfortunately, I saw a freaking photo of Joe on the ground bleeding and Ellie looking at him. So that part got spoiled. But I thought it was at the end. I didn't think it was going to happen like the first quarter of the game. Yeah,
so, I was really surprised when it happened that early in the game. That was like the first 2 hours of the game. I was like, damn.
And the lead up, because right away I knew, based on the photos, so of course people were posting photos of Abby with the golf club. And I was like, oh shit, this is the girl. Of course, they made her look bigger in the fucking photos. The trolls, that is.
Yeah, she definitely ain't looked that. She definitely wasn't that
she looked
damn
like
big
a
in the
freaking
game.
Herman Munster. And so,
Yeah, she definitely wasn't that big in the game.
having to play her in the beginning, and then seeing Joe when Joe saved her, I was like, oh shit, is it gonna happen so quickly? And then when she said, hey, I have a location we can go to, and I'm like, oh shit, So that was a huge shock. And I wish that I didn't see that fucking photo, because I would have loved to have enjoyed that with a fresh take. Like, I already knew what was going to happen, I just didn't know when. But at least I was still surprised as to when it happened and how it led up to it. What about you? What were your thoughts on that particular scene?
The death scene?
Yeah.
My heart was heavy. I ain't gonna lie. I seen the spoilers as well. I tried not to, but looking through comments and stuff, I seen it, like people posting pictures and whatever. I didn't see no video, but I did see Joel dead laying on the floor. I actually thought that was Photoshop. Like, I thought all that was like fake.
Yeah, I was hoping.
But then when it was confirmed, I was like, oh wow, this is crazy. But then when like reviewers and stuff like that got the game and they were saying, oh, the leaks weren't right or correct or whatever. So that's why I was thinking, okay, so maybe Joel dying is some type of like I thought that Joel dying was like in Ellie's head.
Yeah,
like she was worried that he was gonna die or whatever. Like, that's what I thought it was, because like a lot of people were saying, "Oh, don't listen to the leaks. The leaks aren't even correct, or the leaks are totally off." All this other stuff. So I was like, okay.
Or he could have just been hurt, like badly injured.
Yeah, like he wasn't really dead. He was just like really bruised, like really, really hurt. But then when I played the game and I seen the death scene, I knew, like, once they met up with Abby, I knew he was gonna die here. Like, I knew. I'm like,
not even that. Once she shot his fucking leg, bro, and you saw it hanging, I was like, yo, there's no way he's surviving this. Yeah, that's when I knew, like, oh shit, they're gonna kill him.
Yeah,
because his leg was half off.
Yeah, so I was just like, it hurt. It hurt to watch. It really did hurt. It really did hurt to watch.
I was watching like some reactions to that scene on YouTube, and so I was able to see it quite a bit. And the part that I didn't really notice, because I guess maybe because I was like, oh crap, like I was kind of was when Ellie walks in and they throw on the floor and she's like, I'm gonna kill you, blah blah, and she's telling Joe, get the fuck up. You see Joe mumble something, because one eye is open looking at her, and he's like, lips are moving very slowly.
He's probably saying like, I love you or something.
Yeah, like, or telling her, be quiet, or, like, no, please don't kill her. So that was like fucking crazy. The amount of detail, like, and the brains on the freaking golf club. I mean, it was brutal as hell, man. To the sound.
Showed all of it too. Yeah, it was.
But the thing with Abby, and I guess we'll transition to Abby, she kind of looked, I don't know, maybe it was just me, but she kind of looked like she was regretting what she had to do. Because she looks at Joel for a while before doing the final blow and shakes her head. Now, I don't know if she did that because they were like, look, we got to rush it. Hurry up and finish it. Because she even told him, you're a stupid old man. You're not going to rush this. So I don't know if it was some kind of remorse because of him saving her, or because Ellie was there and she, the pain that she was going through, and maybe she could relate because of her father dying, and maybe, maybe she felt something. Maybe she felt what Ellie was going through. Like something similar. Do you feel like there was any remorse, like, before doing what she did?
I think at first.
I think that's why she saved Lev. Honestly,
I think in terms of, like, in the moment, it was pure revenge, right?
Mm-hmm.
She definitely wanted revenge. With the last blow, I definitely feel like I think her dad was going through her mind. That's why she, like, was shaking her head like that.
yeah,
Or, like, her dad or whatever was going through her mind. So I think she was trying to muster up the courage, not courage, but muster up the strength to do that final blow to end him.
yeah, yep, yeah, not to let up. Yeah, because once again, throughout Abby's story, and that threw me off because I didn't think we were going to play her that long. I thought maybe we'd go through another cutscene, or not a cutscene, but I thought we would play with Abby a few more times and then stick with Ellie. But half of the game was Abby. Now, it throws me off that both their names are very similar, Abby, Ellie. So, playing as Abby throughout day 1, 2, and 3, which was in line with when Ellie was there during, days 1, 2, and 3 in Seattle.
Yeah.
And throughout all that, I was like, man, don't tell me that we're gonna wind up in the scene where Abby shows up at the theater and shoots not Manny. Manny was the Spanish guy. Who was the Asian guy? The baby's father. Jesse, yeah. Shoots him in the face, kills him. And he was another good character.
He was a waste. Like, I felt like, why are you here?
He came
honestly,
he came in and saved Ellie at the right time. But
he did, but like I feel like, him dying off, I'm like, this is such a waste. Like,
yeah.
Damn.
Well, Manny was very similar to Jesse, where they were kind of like those side characters that served a purpose, and then all of a sudden were like, boom, you're dead. And it's like, oh, crap. You just didn't see that coming. So, playing as Abby, as we stated earlier, her gameplay was different. Her weapons, the skills she learned were different. And it really came in handy with her play style. You had a fucking crossbow instead of a bow and arrow.
Yeah. Which
was dope, And she was, more, her play style is brutal. Where Ellie would do a sneak kill with the knife, with the blade. And that was the default. That's Ellie's default action. Whereas with Abby, she just simply breaks your neck with brute strength. So, or you can create shivs and do a quick sneak kill. And as the story progressed with Abby, you started to see that she was a good kid. And then she was very dedicated to, when they finally joined the WLF, and her and Owen were in the merry-go, in the park and the aquarium, you saw that there was still some innocence. There was, even though her father was murdered, you can see she was somewhat happy with, being with Owen. But she was still like, hey, I got to go train. Let's not miss training, So you could see, like, she was, like, hardcore about being better. She eventually became, like, Isaac's top. They even said it, that she was the top Scar killer. So she was no joke, period. Like, that revenge factor drove her to be this big, brutish woman. But, and Owen even said it, he said, underneath, you're a very good person. So we were able to see that. Because in the beginning, of course, all we see is that she's killing Joe. And we're like, what? this, a lot of people were calling her names, like on streams. And I eventually grew to like Abby as a character, especially when she met up with Lev. Because you saw that she was opening up. Their conversations were really good too. And she was learning as an individual. And then, of course, she lost more than Ellie lost, which was the real tragedy here. And at one point, when you had to fight Ellie, which was the craziest thing, I don't know what you thought about that. I was like, no way. Crazy. I was like, no way you're going to make me fight Ellie, bro. And Ellie was no joke,
Ellie?
man.
I was like, wow. Yeah, she was definitely. I played it on hard, so
yeah,
she was definitely
sneaky,
like
bro.
really sneaky. And,
a few times she fucking shot my head off, stabbed me. It was crazy, but at that point where you came back from saving Lev and you went to the aquarium and you knew that, oh shit, you're gonna see the dog Alice dead. You're going to see Mel and Owen dead. And I was like, damn, this is going to suck. And once again, she went on that quest for revenge. Because, one thing we forgot. She let Tommy and Ellie live. Because they were there just for Joel. So right there, even though they introduced her as this, unforgiving murderer to a character we were very familiar with and fans of, by the end, you saw how much she had to endure. And once again, it was that whole revenge. She was pushed to it, but her actions led to the people she loved dying as well. So what you think about Abby?
I think Abby is probably, my opinion, the greatest character in Last of Us, just period. Like Last of Us 1 and 2. I think she's actually the most beautifully written character in the game. Because at the beginning of the game, I hate this woman. I hate her. I can't wait for Ellie to end her. When you get to the theater scene with Ellie, like the first time before it cuts away to Abby and you start playing as Abby, I'm thinking, at that point, I'm thinking, okay, this is it. Like, I thought I was at the end of the game at that point because I'm thinking, all right, Abby gonna kill her or they're gonna fight or whatever, and that's gonna be it. But then when it cut to Abby and I'm like, wait, whoa, okay, so we're playing as Abby now? So, I was kind of turned off a little bit. I won't lie.
Yeah.
Just because I was like, I don't want to play this chick. Like what? But when I started playing, like, when it started talking about her story and her flashback missions, and I would even say like her mission structure was done a little bit better in my opinion than Ellie's, just because some of those missions, man, like the high rise where you had to make it down in the building, and
that was crazy.
That was so fun.
Yeah,
that was so fun. Then right after that, you dealing with the hospital and that Resident Evil creepy factor, that RE creepy factor, which I loved completely. So I was like, yo, this is dope. And then, when you're dealing with the whole Seraphite village, Seraphite Island, and the fire and the blaze, the war that's happening, and just bro. her missions were just so dope, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Even when they got during the sneak attack when they were driving in the truck, and all the Fireflies, Scars ambushed them. Even that scene was crazy. Yeah.
So, Abby's mission structure was really, really fun, really great. I think Abby as a character, she really started to grow on me. When her first flashback. When I saw her when she was younger and her and Owen were on that date. Or was it that? No, it was the first flashback was when her and Owen were on the date.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no, I'm lying. No, you're right. No. You're right. It was, You're right. You're right. Never mind. Okay. Yeah. No, it was when it was her looking for her dad and the zebra. That was the first flashback.
Oh, okay.
Once I saw that he was the doctor
I
at
know.
St.
I was
Mary's,
like,
I was like,
oh shit.
oh, wait a minute. I was
Yup.
like, what? Wait, what is going on? I was like going crazy in my crib. Once I saw that, I
Yup.
immediately understood the motive. I was like, oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
I see what it is. Okay. All right. And from that point on, I was like, all right, I'm sold. Abby is, I need to know more about Abby. I need to know what's going on here.
That's how I
And
was after she killed
and
Joel.
deeper.
That's what drove
Well,
me
yeah,
to
I
play.
felt like that at the beginning.
I
as
was
well,
like,
but once we
why?
saw what was going on, I was like, yeah. This is, I'm like 100% in on this. Like, I need to know. So, going through her missions and seeing her progress as a character and seeing her go through what she was going through, watching her love interest with Owen and her friends, and she had like a regular. I mean, they're living in a post-apocalyptic world, so nothing's regular. But in their world of regular life, where like she's a soldier, they're trying to keep their facilities and stuff safe, and they at
Yeah.
war with the Seraphites, and she had friends and a love interest, and she I'm like, they really did a good job of humanizing her,
Hmm.
humanizing.
You still there? Oh crap. We have technical
By the
difficulties.
end of-
Okay, there we go. You broke up. It was weird.
Oh no, yeah, I was like gathering my thoughts. No, when like in terms of Abby, by the end of the game, I understood and agreed with Abby completely, and I was conflicted because I'm like, yo, I love Joel as a character. He's such a great character. But in the end, I said he deserves everything that he got. He deserved to die.
Yeah. It was an unfortunate truth, like there's a guy on YouTube.
My new favorite character.
There's a guy on YouTube. I don't know if you ever seen him. Asian guy, Morgan Days or something.
No.
He made a video and he was like, "Look, guys, I'm gonna say it straight up. He has a very strong accent too. You've probably seen this stuff because he likes to snap on Xbox guys. But he said Joel wasn't a good guy. He goes, I'm gonna say it. Joel wasn't a good guy. He deserved to die. I was like, you know what? He's not wrong. Now, sticking with Abby, how do you like the way they physically, throughout each flashback, you saw her physique progress as well to the final product? Because she's Diesel, But you saw her, with her dad, and she looked athletic, but so was her dad, so. What you think about that? Like the way they, little by little, with each flashback, you also saw the change in her physically.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm not trying to date the woman. She can look how she
yeah, I
wants.
know.
I'm just trying to play the game.
Yeah.
People that get hung up over stuff like that, I don't get it. Just because
I know, man.
It's
crazy, bro. How much
these
flack.
video game characters out on a date.
Yeah. Yeah.
She can look how she wants. Like
Mhm.
for me, it didn't look like in terms of her physique. I didn't have no problems with it. It was cool.
Yeah.
It was cool with me. I liked it. It was dope. Like I liked her character design was really good because even though she was built like she was brolic, she still had like that baby face.
Yeah, exactly. And the
Still had a
voice
baby
too.
face. Yeah, and the voice. So I'm like, I don't see an issue, but that's me.
Yeah, I know. It was a weird and still people, off topic, but there's so many people on YouTube just using the Last of Us 2 controversy to, I mean, there are like people making video after video after video after like milking the Last of Us 2 controversy. And it's like, damn, you can't come up with anything else. But yeah, not Ellie. Abby is definitely one of those new characters that you're gonna remember. You're gonna remember her as the person. you hated at first, and then grew to, you grew to like her, and you understood her motives, and then eventually we watched her character grow as a person, and eventually become. She also broke out of that cycle of now with her revenge. She got her revenge the first time, but then when she went to avenge her friends, that's where with Lev, she broke the cycle. She said, look, don't let me see you again. And she broke out. And we'll jump into Ellie, because Ellie couldn't let it go. Now, Ellie got her butt kicked in that scene in the theater. And as we stated, she had the life that her and Dina were talking about. They had the baby. But she had what looked like PTSD. She kept envisioning Joel. And of course, she watched the whole thing. Even Tommy was knocked out, so he didn't see it. She watched him. That final blow, she watched it.
Dead. Yo, when he got shot in the head like that, I'm like,
oh
damn,
yeah, dude.
I was like, damn.
Yeah. I was like, yo, she killed Tommy, and then when he showed up to like tell her, look, we found her. I was like, damn, look at his face. He's limping. He's not the man he was. But let's start with Ellie, because the relationship between Joel and Ellie was not the same. And the way it started, you saw that. You saw there was tension. Not once did I think that she found out what really happened. I just thought that maybe she was in that teenage angst age, and she was kind of rebelling against him, like a teenager would. And so they were little by little showing what led up to their conflict. And unfortunately, when she found out and Joel told her the truth finally, that was when she was like, look, I want nothing to do with you. I'll go back to Jackson, but we're done. And then you can see the pain in Joel's face, in those scenes where he's trying to, like at the party, he was trying to defend her, and then she basically told him off in front of everybody. But the scene at the end, when they were both in the balcony, and she's like, look, I can't forgive you for what you did, but I can try. That was, I feel, why Ellie freaked out the way she did, because their relationship was incomplete. It was, and remember, during the scene where, in the beginning, where Dina and Ellie are supposed to go and search for infected, they were talking about, Dina was talking about, hey, we're going to break out and we're going to, go to the woods and, do teenager stuff. And then Ellie was like, nah, me and Joe are going to watch a movie. That scene never happened because Joe was dead already. Well, he was about to die. So that was like, we were witnessing the beginning of what would have been them trying to, not them, Ellie, trying to forgive Joe. Joel, I keep saying Joe. And because that was taken away from her, I think that's what drove her mad, because she was mad with revenge. Like, there was nothing stopping her. What do you think about that theory? That was like, because that final scene, that was really, I felt Naughty Dog saved that for last to really emphasize why Ellie did what she did.
Actually, I think with that scene, the reason why they showed that at the end like that was, I think it meant two things. It was to let you know that, it was to let you know that they were working to build their relationship back up. Like, he didn't die. They didn't die on bad terms.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It was to let you know that. But I also think it was to signify her being able to let him go and move on.
Yeah. You still there? Because it's, I don't know if you dropped.
A will towards somebody you
Okay,
really
like-
can't move on.
Yeah.
I think them showing that scene at the end like that with them back at that flashback at the end was to also signify that she forgave Joel for what he did at St. Mary's in the first game, and it was also letting you know that she's moving on from him. Like, her quest for revenge for his death is no more. She's
Yeah.
accepting that he's dead, and she's going to live her life now, which is why she leaves the guitar there like that, because that's supposed to signify her leaving the past in the past and finding her own future.
Yeah, that's how they made it look. You know, she got she had 2 of her fingers bitten off by Abby. She couldn't play the guitar at the end, which is a guitar that Joel found and gave it to her as a gift. And then she was trying to play the song that he always played, and she couldn't do it. And then that's when they go to the flashback of her and Dina, and then Joel trying to defend her. And then them in the balcony. Now, the thing with Ellie at the end, yeah, it kind of seems like her leaving the guitar, because, everything was there. Like, Dina didn't take any of her stuff. So, I think in the past she would have taken the guitar at least. She still had his watch, though. So, right? Did she take it with her when she went to find Abby at the end? Well, not the end, but when she left the farmhouse, right? Didn't she take the watch with her? Or I gotta check that again. I don't know if she has the watch or not.
No, I don't think she took the watch. I think she looked at it and she
I remember she
put it
looked
back
at
down
it.
or something like that. Yeah,
Oh,
she did
okay.
look at it.
Yeah, because she obviously couldn't let him go, and that drove her mad. And she even said, "Hey, Joe would have been halfway to Seattle by now," and Tommy said no. And I don't know about that one. I think Joel would have, burnt down the world or whatever. But I think I think Joel didn't want her to go that route. And maybe that was that final scene where she remembers Joel in the balcony, because remember, she sees him in the balcony when she's drowning Abby, and then later we see that same scene where they're in the balcony at the very end. So I think that was like that last glimpse of Joel with the guitar was like a reminder of, listen, I gotta stop. Joe wouldn't like this. I mean, this game is one of those games where you can have all different types of theories, but
Yeah.
because just like the first one, the first one was a little more cut and dry, where you knew, okay, Joe did this, he lied to her, and Ellie accepted the lie, or did she? And as we found out, she never really got over that. She always questioned him about it.
Well, I think because she was ready to die.
Yeah,
I
and
think
then
she
she
was-
did in that
I
scene
think she was
too.
accepting that, I think she was accepting that, she wanted, because remember at the end of the first game when they were going back to Jackson, she thought that her life had more purpose.
Yeah, and she tells
And
Joe,
she,
"Hey, you took
Yep.
that away from me. My life would have meant something, and you took it away from me." So
Yep.
she was willing to be the reason why the world was safe, and that was another thing that you saw, how insecure she was, how lonely she was, even though she was with Dina, and she felt insignificant because of what Joel did. Now, one thing could be me thinking a little too much into it, but I did like how in the end of The Last of Us, the first one, the last thing that Ellie says is okay. And in the end of this one, the last thing Joel says is yup. So it kind of ended with the same words. Last of Us 1 and 2. Did you notice that?
Actually, no.
Yeah, that's the first
No, I
thing I
didn't.
thought about when, because she's like, "I'll see you later," and then Joe goes, "Yup," and that's the last thing they said to each other. So I was like, okay, basically ended the same way with one last final word, but this time it was Joel, not Ellie. Ellie was the one who said okay, because remember she asked Joel, if what he was saying was the truth, and he said yes. No, he goes, "I swear," and then she goes, "Okay," and then that's when it ended. And so here, it's, Ellie tells Joel, "I'll see you around," and then Joel goes, "Yup," and then Ellie walks away, and then the next scene is when we see the guitar, and you see Ellie walking away through the window. So I found that kind of a nod. I don't know. Maybe it's just me overthinking it. I found it as a nod to the last one. Like, that could be, like, this could be like the final segment or final installation to this game. Like, I don't think they're, because to me the way they ended it was very, even though they could like technically do a DLC for Abby and Lev finding the Fireflies, but I think this really closed the saga of The Last of Us as we know it.
I don't think there's going to be a third game. People are like, oh, they can still do part 3. I'm like, do what? There's nothing to do.
Exactly.
It's over.
Yeah.
It's
Now,
over.
Now, what about the part where Abby found the radio and she's, they got the codes and she finally reaches someone and she's like, "I'm a Firefly." And he goes, "Yeah, there's about 200 of us. Come meet us." And then when they left, they got ambushed. At first, I thought
she was going to die right there. There was too many close calls. With
with Abby, yup. But I thought those were the guys she was speaking to, like the big guy, the guy with the glasses. But they didn't
I think it was.
Because I thought so. I was like, oh man, they tricked her. But then it looked like at the end they were going, where the hell was it that he said they were at? It was another part of the coast. I forgot, but it looked like that's where they were going. Because I was even telling my wife, I was like, "Yo, that's a setup." I was like, "That's a setup." And he was like, "Yeah, come find us." And then when they got ambushed, I'm like, "Holy crap!" And then lo and behold, Ellie gets ambushed by the same crew. I like the way Ellie got out of that one. That was freaking dope.
Wait, Ellie was in ambush? What?
Yeah, remember she got caught by the trap?
Yeah. You're right. Yep.
Now, what I thought was going to happen was that Ellie and Abby were going to team up and escape. Yeah, I thought they were going to team up, escape from that prison, and then have a conflict where it's like, do we fight? Do we or not? It was kind of close.
Can we talk about something real quick?
Sure.
Something that kind of was like, and even now that I'm thinking about it, it's really eating at me. When her and Ellie were fighting, Ellie bit Abby. Ellie's infected. Abby's not, and they I don't know, like they didn't really like say anything about that. Like,
Yeah.
Ellie, because remember when she bit David, and she was like, I'm infected. You're gonna be infected now. Right? So I'm like, shouldn't Abby be infected? But then I'm like, you know what's funny? I thought I had like a lot of, towards the end of the game, like I was going through so much stress because I'm thinking like, what is about to happen here? When she got bit by the clicker,
Yeah.
I actually thought her immunity was gone, and by the end of the game, she was actually going to die and actually become
Shit.
an infected. That's what I thought was going to happen because when she got bit, I'm like, damn, we never really seen Ellie. Well, in Left Behind, yeah, but we haven't really seen Ellie get bit after that.
Yeah.
She's always had close calls, but not actually being bit. So her actually being bit or being like, getting a scratch or whatever, I was like, damn, is Ellie about to turn and become an infected?
I didn't
And
even
I'm
think of that
like,
one.
yo, if that's how the game ends, and she just and like she doesn't die, like Abby doesn't kill her, but like Ellie just roams the earth infected. Like
That
that's
would
how
have been crazy.
I thought that's how the game would have ended, her roaming the earth being infected, because then that would have meant her life really,
Yeah, it was really it ended
like she really
tragically.
wasn't immune, like she really wasn't immune, and like she really wasn't, like that would have been like some mind-blowing shit where I'm like, whoa, wait a second, what?
And when she met Tara was like, "How come you're not coughing?" And then she goes, "Oh, you're her." So they knew about Ellie.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was a story about revenge, and at the end of the day, basically, two wrongs don't make a right. You saw the consequences, and it was always the people that surrounded the people who were, out for revenge that suffered the most. Most likely with their lives. And we saw that here. It was brutal. It wasn't as brutal as some of the reviewers say. I mean, I was like, wow, really? But
Yeah, the
no
violence
hold bars.
wasn't. The violence wasn't like. I mean, I guess because I have a high tolerance. Like the violence was dope. I was like,
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
dope.
Yeah, some of
I
the
don't-
kills.
too much violence. I don't know, man.
Like some of the stuff I see people doing, like, because the gameplay in this game is phenomenal. Like the dodge button, I heard you and Jabari talking about it, and I saw like one guy just dodging. What's the big enemy? The big strong one that rams through the walls. Oh man, he's there's the one that in the arcade. You fall into the arcade by the at a pier, and he's breaking through the walls, running through the walls. It's in a scene, a flashback with you and Joel, where you got to fight him, and you and Joel are fighting him, and he's damn, what's his name? What they call those? It's not the ones that burst. It's the third one that they
bloaters?
introduce. Yeah, there's the bloaters.
The shamblers.
So the bloater's the
shamblers?
big fat one, right? I mean, the big strong one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a scene. There's actually is a GIF where a guy is just dodging him without even.
Yeah, I seen that.
I'm like, yo, that is crazy, man, and you don't get to appreciate it because, at least for me, I didn't really appreciate it because I was so into the story and I wanted to see what happens. I was like, how is this going to end? So I was really enthralled into the story. But the gameplay is amazing, like the fluidity.
10 out of 10.
I just totally butchered that word, but it's so fluid. The dodging to the shooting to the melee. I mean, all of it, man. It's just, everybody jokes about the crunching and everything like that, but this is the results.
This is what crunch gets you. Like if you're passionate about a project, you're gonna work some extra hours to have that project be fully realized.
And dude,
so.
The first time you get to the first time you confront the scars in that jungle, and those freaking you're like in the grass while you're surrounded by leaves, and you're thinking you seen them chopping up. Actually, they open the guy's stomach, and you're witnessing that. And here I am, like, sneaking around, and all of a sudden I hear this fucking whistle, and I'm like, oh shit, they're right on top of me. So they got me with a freaking arrow. And if you get hit with an arrow, if you don't pop it out right away, I don't know if it happened to you, it keeps taking your energy.
Yep.
So I had to take that out, and then I thought the guy was still around. So then I went further back. I hid in the grass. You hear them whistling. That's their way of communicating. I'm hitting R1 so I can see, I forgot what they call that element where you hear them. But they were sneaking efficiently. I couldn't really see them. So I had to depend on visually seeing them. And dude, they were sneaky, man. Like out of nowhere, they would pop up behind me. I was like, "Yo, what the hell, man? This is like a totally different type of enemy." Because you're introduced to different characters, different enemies, and with the wolf, they fight a certain way, and then the Scar fight a certain way. And that scene looks sick. Like the visuals, the atmosphere, and then the sound. It was really intense. And I just love how each faction just was different. The way they looked, the way they fought, their weapons, even their tactics was different. And then, of course, you got to add the freaking infected. So you had... and dogs. I had to unfortunately kill dogs.
Yeah.
I actually killed the dogs first. But sometimes when I would kill the person with the dog would stand there and like lick the guy, like trying to wake him up, or the girl. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah.
You hear them weeping, and then if they see you, they come at you, though.
Yeah, yeah.
So the detail is astounding. The attention to detail and the ways you can play this freaking game. I'm seeing guys do things, the videos they're posting, how they do certain things. I didn't know you could jump and do an attack from up above. I was going to do it one time, and I was like, but if I can't do that, then I'm in the middle of this whole crowd. So it just seems like there's a nice, many different ways to play this game. A nice variety of ways. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
So any thoughts about visuals, audio, gameplay before we wrap it up?
This is the most beautiful game to come out. This game is I'm playing on 4K HDR TV, Samsung. This game is phenomenal. It is the most beautiful game I've ever played.
I wish I wish my 4K had HDR. I am missing out on that.
Yeah, the colors were great. Audio, because I normally play like with my sound, like I have soundbar subwoofer.
Yeah,
and the bass and all that stuff is just so good, man. When you hear when you're like walking around and you hear that faint, doom, 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 and then like
something's
when
coming.
when you know something's about to be like when you know something's getting. When you know danger's getting closer, it starts like the creep factor and like the immersion was definitely there. Sound design is, Naughty Dog has always been good with sound design.
Yeah,
they really outdid themselves with this one.
What about the
they
damn stalkers, man? You hear them and you're like, where are they, man?
Yo, when you was going to the hospital with Ellie the first time to face Nora. Yo, man, when I was in that house, that one section, and I went into a room, and then I turned around, and the stalker was in the doorway, and then he ran off. I was like, oh shit. I was like, oh no.
Eventually, I just ran, bro. I fought a bunch of them, and then I ran.
I tried to fight, but I was like, yeah, I can't. These dudes is too. They too sneaky for your boy, Gameplay is phenomenal. Like this, the gameplay was just it's so refreshing because it builds upon itself, right? Like it still maintains that Last of Us feel, but it's more refined, more streamlined, and improved, and it builds upon itself. So it doesn't really take anything away. It adds to it, which I think enhances the experience even more.
Yeah.
So I really do appreciate Naughty Dog for doing that, and I think they did a great job at building like a very cohesive world, making the gameplay super tight. Like the gameplay is tight, it's fluid, it's flawless.
Yeah,
they did a good job. They did a really good job.
Yeah, like there was a scene where you're escaping the wolves after you're surrounded, after Isaac dies, and there's a flood, and you're surrounded by wolves, and they're calling you out, Abby, come out. And then I snuck up to a guy by going into the narrow water and swimming with Abby, and I swam up behind him, and I'm like, yo, this is dope, because I didn't think I would be able to.
Yeah.
But there was just enough water where Abby was able to swim, because you know how sometimes they see you from afar, so you hear that little humming noise.
Yeah.
So it started building up, and I was like, where the hell do they see me? So I
Yeah, sometimes I don't know where they were seeing me too. I'm like, where the hell is he seeing me? I
Yeah.
don't know where. What is going on? Because the areas are so much larger.
Yep.
So it's just like, yo, they're everywhere.
You think
man.
you're done,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden you see like a crew walk. I'm like, oh crap.
Yeah.
Now,
That definitely happened to me.
because of my head injury and stuff like that, eventually I had to lower the difficulty because my coordination was off. So that was frustrating. So the only way I was able to finish it by lowering the difficulty a bit. But eventually I'm going to go back, put it on Game Plus, and take my time so I can try to get the platinum. I heard that was really tough.
Yeah.
Because you got to use some of the Excel. What was it? They said you had to use some of the accessibility features or something. I'm not sure.
That's if you want to do it the easy way.
Yeah.
Plus, you gotta do chapter select and go backwards.
Yeah.
And so that they all, because when you if you do chapter select and start from chapter 1, you can't choose any of the other chapters. You have to start backwards.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
so that all the
because
chapters are.
I went to go record some video, and then I couldn't pick any chapters. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So, what would you give it a rating of?
10 out of 10.
Yeah.
10
Yeah.
out of 10.
At one point,
nothing lower than that.
At one point, I was like, you know what? I give it a 9. But then, as I progressed to the very end, and then I started thinking about the game, I was like, all right, I'm just going to give it that final point, give it a 10.
Yeah.
There are some, just like every game, there are some spots where things kind of get messy with pacing, but that's basically with every game. It's very difficult to be super perfect. But I tell you what, man, Red Dead Redemption is a beautiful game, but the gameplay mechanics, they're wonky. The fact that The Last of Us 2 can look as good as Red Dead Redemption 2, but play 100 times better, that says a lot.
That puts Rockstar on notice.
Yeah,
Rockstar's on notice. There's no
they're
excuse.
aiming. Sometimes when you run, you're bumping into shit because so.
The way the controls are, like,
Yeah.
Rockstar is on notice. Like, you can't release a next gen game like
Yeah, with
GTA
old
6
gen.
or whatever
Yep.
with those type of controls. You can't.
Exactly.
It's
So,
not gonna fly.
Yeah,
It's not gonna fly.
and the story was better than Red Dead Redemption. To me, I got, and it goes to once again with that pacing issue. I kept saying, how many fucking times you're gonna say one more job? And I'm like, Jesus,
Yeah.
either get to the point or I'm gonna stop, because that's how I am. If something
That's
throws me
when it's
off,
like, you gotta have some goddamn faith.
yeah. So I was kind of tired of him, like, stretching Rockstar stretching the story through that type of narrative, but eventually, stuck with it. Great story. Arthur was a great character too.
Yeah, it was.
So Naughty Dog was more direct, but I felt the story was more complex, and the fact that they were able to keep that shit structured and have it work, regardless of what the haters are saying, that story worked because you took somebody who you initially hated, and by the end of the story, you were like, I can relate to what Abby was doing, and Ellie is wrong. So, yeah, it's just a great game. I'd give it a 10. Doesn't mean it's perfect,
Yeah.
but man, it's the best game out there right now.
Yes.
For this gen. I'd say, shit, man. I'd say the last 10 years, man, is one of the most memorable games. And believe me, I've played some great games that I'm like, holy shit, that was a memorable experience. This is just on another. This is next gen before next gen begins.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna wrap it up. For the listeners, let us know what you think. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. You could always leave us feedback on Twitter at PostGameReport, all one word. I would tell you my Twitter handle, but I don't know it by heart, so I'm sorry. I think it's JVB Beta, something like that, some shit. It's like my 4th Twitter account, so let me look at it real quick. Because, yeah, JV Beta Photos. So that's my Twitter. If you want to leave feedback, you could leave it to me there. And Persona, where can they find you?
Yeah, guys. So, first off, thank you, Jose, for having me on, man. Great show, great talk.
My
always
pleasure,
good
man.
to chop
Thank
it
you for
up with my
joining
boy Jose. And you can find me on Twitter at Persona Speaks. And also my YouTube is Gaming with Persona. And yeah, that's it, man. Appreciate you guys for being here. Make sure you support my boy Jose.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you. Yeah, so thank you everyone for listening, and we'll be back with the entire crew. Maybe Persona will be back too for that one. And I can't wait to hear what they have to say, because some of us have been chatting, and it's kind of hard when you finish a game before everybody else and you don't want to say certain things, but like,
yeah, I got screenshots and everything that I want to post, and I can't.
Like, we didn't even talk about the fight with Tommy. Like, that was crazy. He sniped my ass like freaking 3 times.
That was definitely a callback to Last of Us 1.
Yeah, so that was freaking cool. So there's a lot going on in this game that we didn't even cover, and it's truly a great experience. So you guys have a great night. We'll talk to you next week. Persona, once again, thank you, man.
No doubt, man.